Okay. Yeah, so I wrestled quite a bit with what I actually was going to share because it was a little bit more thought-provoking, the topic that I was drawn to, rather than concrete and tangible things that I feel like you can take back to your area. I felt over the past 2 years, have been challenged to consider in what way I invite people into Young Life Ministry as we kick-started in Marquette in the greater UP. And I wanted to challenge you guys in the same way. In what way do you invite people in to what you're up to? And I do think of that any person that decides to step into a leadership role with Young Life, that I can be a part of, that I'm leading, I hope that in their time they grow. Like that is a simple hope that I have, whether it be a volunteer leader, a committee member, a staff person, whatever it may be. And I know that's something that you're like, of course, like you would hope for that as well. But I communicate that at every leadership meeting. I communicate that at every new leader training meeting, especially new leader training meetings, because I let them know that, like, hey, obviously, in this ministry, we're about kids. We're about finding the marginalized kids. We're finding all the kids so that they have an opportunity to know Jesus. But in this new leader training window, you get to consider you. You know, you get to take time on a weekly basis and think, does God want this for me? Because I feel, and these are all things that we know to be true, but how well do we communicate it to the people we invite into leadership roles? I feel like the Lord obviously wants to shape me and grow me through the time, whatever time I have with Young Life. Through this misshapen, broken vehicle that is Young Life, He desires to use me to grow me, and He desires to use and grow our leaders as well. But how regularly do we remind them of that? I feel it's something that we need to do regularly because it offers ownership. And the difference between not being an owner and taking part in something, and then being an owner and taking part in something is... we'll actually touch on it here in a second, so I'll leave that hanging for a moment. What I want to tell you a little bit about is my morning routine. I am a morning person, big time. Like, I'll set the alarm this morning. I got to stay at Timberwolf in the new Yarder. I don't know what that name means. I think it's weird, but there's probably a reason. And if you know it, tell me later. But I got to stay in the new doctor's quarters, and I set the alarm for 6:05, and I rolled over at 5:20. You know, ready to go. And I'm like awake. Like, I'm ready for coffee. I'm ready to move. Some of my favorite moments in life before my kiddos showed up were quietly sitting with a cup of coffee. Regardless of what situation I was in, whether I was in like a beautiful valley getting to serve at Wilderness Ranch or sitting in my mother-in-law's basement where we now live. Those quiet moments with a cup of coffee in the still of the morning were some of my favorite times. But that has changed. My son TJ, who's 2, wakes up at 5:30 every single morning. And my daughter, who's 5, Frankie Jane, she wakes up usually about 6:45. My wife, who's 7 months pregnant, does not wake up at those times and is vehemently against those times. But it works out well that since I'm a morning person, I get to spend those times with my kids. Like, even 2 mornings ago, TJ woke up even a little early for his typical schedule, about 4:45, and I was like, okay, I'm not even ready yet. So I brought him to bed, and he slept on my chest for a few minutes, for probably about 45 minutes, and it was beautiful. Like, it was so, so wonderful. And there's some of, like, my sweetest moments I feel like I've experienced in life are those moments, like with my son or my daughter, like, asleep on my chest. And as they slowly wake up and, like, lift their head and then, like, smack me in the nose as they bring it back down. But I had to change and adapt, and I'm going to, in all honesty, especially when Frankie showed up 5 years ago, I had like some frustration that I'm like, my beautiful moment in the day is gone. And it started, especially once TJ showed up 2 years ago, I started to embrace the idea that my beautiful moment in the day that I love so much is probably gone for the next 20 years. It's no longer going to be something that I get to lean into with that quiet cup of coffee and the Lord and the Word or whatever I may be leaning into. But it required that I change in some form or fashion. I, for some time, have believed this, and this is something that I challenge our leaders with, not all that regularly, because I don't want it to become a platitude, but the thought that if you've been moved by something, should you hope to grow at all, you got to respond. If you've been moved by something that was said today, a conversation that you had today, if you've been moved by Christ dying on the cross for you, if you've been moved by an interaction with a Capernaum kid, if you've been moved by getting to have your 2-year-old son sleep on your chest, if you've been moved by something, should you hope to grow at all, you have got to respond. Otherwise, it's kind of like we see such beautiful, crazy, awesome things in our world all the time. I think of like beautiful movies that we love, that you like go to a movie and you see something amazing, be it like literally computer graphics or like storytelling or whatever it may be, and at the end of it you're like, let's go to Qdoba, you know? You're like, what? Like, I need to talk about this. Like, I need to respond. I need to hear what you're thinking and feeling. I need to get those feelings off my chest too. And so I challenge our leaders in this window of time, like I said, that they get to consider, is this role for them? What is it that moves you about the mission of Young Life? What is it that's different than what else you've encountered? If there is something that catches your attention, if there is something that moves you emotionally and draws you closer, should you hope to grow at all, you got to respond. Because I always tell our potential leaders that if you hope to grow in your faith, you need to take some risks. You need to get uncomfortable. You need to lean into the discomfort of relying on Christ. And being a Young Life leader is a good way to do that. It's not the only way, but I let them know, like, you get this semester and you get these new leader trainings to consider if that's the way you want to respond. But what I really implore to them is that you got to respond in some form or fashion if you hope to grow. Yes. So as we moved up to Marquette a year and a half ago, Christina and I, we got to lean into this wonderful space of like, what do we hope to grow? Like, in all honesty, we still don't totally know what we're doing. On a weekly basis, I feel like, much like you guys feel often, I could do 100 different things with my time. And what I've discovered about myself is I love growing leaders. And I've never had the opportunity to do that. The previous roles I've had in Young Life, leaders were given to me, or I was on property staff. And people just kept showing up that I got to lead and do work with, which was cool. But what I knew I desired out of a leadership team and a committee, which has been a slower burn, but the leadership team, which we have 28 leaders now in our second year, and I do love whoever said it. I think Kyle said it a moment ago. It is funny how you can be flying high, and then after club on Monday, one of my most consistent leaders is like, "I'm going to stop." It's like, oh, don't. But I love you. But what I knew I desired was a culture of ownership, which sounds wonderful. But it's like, how do we foster that? Like, how do we offer ownership over to college students, like we've already heard, that are 19, 20, 21, 22, and like true ownership? What we see in our world with kind of this category of like own, follow, and take part, which, oh, dear Lord. Own, follow, and take part, kind of like what it takes to be a part of a community. There's really passive ways in which our culture teaches us to take part in things. Like you can choose to follow someone on social media and you're like, all right, I'm connected to them, cool. Or like one of those Facebook groups that during the Super Bowl they put like that commercial out for $5.6 million that showed actually how awesomely relational Facebook groups are. And it's like, y'all don't hang out? Come on. Like, that's not face-to-face interaction. Like, that's not empathy, there's that type of owning and taking part, but then there's a type that really requires, as I like to think about it, empathetic commitment. And what I mean by empathetic commitment, because that also just sounds really neat, is that you're responding to a vision and you're responding to what's happening. And so if we desire to grow cultures that foster ownership beyond ourselves within Young Life, because I'm not always going to be a part of Young Life, whether it be in Marquette or somewhere else, but I hope that it's a tool that continues to welcome other people in. Other people have to own it. Other people have to say it's theirs, and we have to be continually working to make ourselves not necessary. And I know that even that part sounds kind of funny. It would require a whole other talk or conversation. But these are the things I've been aspiring to as we grow things in Marquette. And there are a whole bunch of things we haven't done well. And there are a whole bunch of things that are blind spots for us, so we keep welcoming more people in. But I'll wrap up with this, because I got to about 1/5 of my notes. Christina said this would happen. She's very smart. I'll wrap up with this, that What I challenge our leaders with and what I challenge you with is a willingness to lean into the discomfort of change. Continually, even if something is working well, like I referenced, the change that I chose to embrace with changing my mornings, like my favorite moments in life really have been in my mornings, have provided me with absolute joy and magic. I like to call Christina magic because she provided these people into our lives, and she's growing in third, that just blow my mind. Like, I cannot believe that this is the life that I get to have, that I get to be a part of, that I get to wake up and have TJ sleep on my chest or start hitting me in the face once he's ready to wake up. It's absolute magic, and all of it comes back to this idea. We're going to part ways on the eternal wisdom of Joanna Gaines. It was in some random episode, and I stopped it or rewound it because I was like, I need to hear that again. She said, it never gets old. The idea of creating home for people is something we'll always love. And I feel like as I desire to shape whatever our leader community is in Marquette and allow other people to speak into it and shape it as well, I'm really offering them home. And I'm offering them to help shape that home as well. And so, yeah, like I said, this is all kind of more thought-provoking, I hope. And I hope you can take some nuggets away, but my challenge to you is what type of space are you offering to leaders? Not so much what type of space are you creating, but what type of space are you allowing others to create?